Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Lihini. So it has been raining today. It's a little bit dark in Sri Lanka. So recently a lot of people have been asking me to do a little clip about Cuba. Today's video is about Cuba, what I've seen there, what I've heard about Cuba and all. I hope you will enjoy it. What's the first thing come to your mind if somebody asks you about Cuba? Probably it's Fidel Castro, or maybe socialism, or if you like to smoke, you will say tobacco. Okay, let's see, where is Cuba exactly? It's in the Atlantic Ocean, in the Caribbean Sea. It's one of the largest islands in Latin American countries. When I speak about Cuba, a lot of people have been asking me, do they speak English? No, of course not. They speak Spanish, because it was a colony of Spain a long time ago. When I reached Cuba the first time, I was lost in the airport because I was looking for somebody to speak English. Nobody could help me at all. But with time, I understood that there are a lot of people who can speak English actually. You can't forget about the three patriotic symbols of Cuba if you're talking about Cuba. Of course, the flag, the national flag, with three colors, red, blue and white, and one star inside it, and their national anthem, and of course their national logo, which is a shield with a royal palm. A palm. Like in Sri Lanka, their national flower, their national tree, their national bird, and their national sport. Let's see what are they now. Their national tree is the royal palm, of course, as their logo has it. Their national flower, which is mariposa. Their national bird is called tocororo in Spanish. I've searched in the internet, it's called Cuban trogon. Now the most important part, I'm gonna talk about the people in Cuba. Very friendly and very helpful people, of course. Some people are asking me if they are black. I don't like to give like races to people, but some people are asking me if they have dark skin. No, I can't say like 100% they're dark skinned. There are white people like Dariel, he's fair skinned, and dark colored people, and some people are like me. And because I'm telling you, some actually mistook me as a Cuban until I opened my mouth, of course. As I told you, the people are so kind and helpful. As a girl, I could even walk in the streets or anything, like go somewhere and come back to my university, even in the middle of the night, and nobody would attack me or anything. The security is really good over there. Let me tell you something about the health system and education right now. When I got my scholarship, I asked people like, how is Cuba before I go there? They were like, no, they have the best medicine in the world. Okay, our viewers from the other countries from the world, please don't get offended by this, but that's how they told me about Cuba. And of course it was really good. They have a free health system, hospitals and polyclinics, and personal consultation like dispensaries. Actually they graduate a lot of doctors from Cuba. Like if you check, every 1,000 people, 9 out of them are doctors. Percentage wise, it's more than UK actually. That's what I see. If you talk about nutrition, there are no malnutrition among children. It's something like good fact, right? About schooling and education, it's totally free, like in Sri Lanka. Most part of Sri Lanka, let me say. It's an obligation for everybody to study in the school. They also have kindergarten or preschool, primary, secondary school, then university like us, and they have their uniform. I've seen some uniforms like blue, not like in Sri Lanka like white thing. Interesting fact is, in Sri Lanka you have to wear your uniform very strictly. You can't like color your hair or like do makeup or like even paint your nails or anything. But there I saw like girls, at least I've seen them doing everything like that. There's no any limit. When we talk about culture of a country, we can't forget about their religion, of course. The most of them are Catholics, of course, including their saints and all. Like the most important saint that I've heard is Virgen de la Caridad. It's basically Saint Maria. Apart from Catholic religion, there are some people who believe witchcraft and sorcery, like in Sri Lanka, Anavina and Kodivina. And of course, that's interesting, of course. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the very famous tobacco. Well, you might have heard about Monte Cristo, Cohiba. These are some of the most famous brands of tobacco over there. They grow tobacco in Cuba in various places, like Pinar del Rio, for example. With tobacco, I have to talk about rum. Cuban rum is really famous in the world. This brand called Bacardi, actually the very origin is from Cuba. All the tourists like to take a sip of delicious cocktails from Cuba. Mojito is one of the most famous one from Cuba, which includes Cuban rum, Havana Club, for example. You visit a Cuban house. Do you know what they would serve you first? No, it's not tea, it's coffee. It's a really dark, very strong taste coffee, but the most delicious thing I think I've tasted in Cuba. Their food is called comida criolla, or homemade food, basically. They eat rice, it's called congrees, and they would eat a lot of roasted pig. Also this soup called caldosa. It includes plantain, pumpkin, corn, of course, and tamales. Very delicious. It's made with corn. You know, in Sri Lanka, we like to eat with hand, but in Cuba, it's kind of prohibited. They see it like a primitive thing. Even for little kids, they motivate to eat with spoon and fork. Cuba is one of the countries that have a lot of biodiversity in Latin American countries, actually. You can even see the hummingbird, the smallest bird in the world. But of course, they don't have any venomous animals like insects or even cobra or something like that. Even though that country is a tropical country, not even lions like how we used to see elephants in Sri Lanka, they don't have any of them. So as I mentioned before, their national sport is baseball. Actually, Olympic wise, they have a lot of Olympic medalists. And although the national sport is baseball, they have a lot of football fans. That's crazy when there's FIFA. You know how Sri Lankans like to play cards and all? Omi, rum, and these things in funeral homes, even when you get together. There what they use is domino. So now I'm going to talk about my favorite part of this video, which is their dancing, their music, which is very rich, that culture. Actually, they have this dancing method called casino that you will see like a lot of people in a circle, they will dance together. It's really enjoyable. And also they have cha-cha-cha, rumba, mambo, and a lot of different styles of dancing. Music-wise, they have salsa music. For me, if I hear that music anywhere, I know that's Cuban music. That's something like a symbol of Cuba. And they also have reggaeton and this kind of music, like people like to listen, like new generation, they like to listen this kind of music. Transport in Cuba. Oh, that's an interesting topic. They have buses, like common buses here, and trains, of course, which I never took any. And as I was a student, I had a different kind of visa, like a temporary residency over there. So with my ID, I could use these public transport methods. But usually, if you, as a tourist, you go there, you can't use those methods. You had to take a taxi, something like that, and pay differently. Of course, same in Sri Lanka, you will have to pay a little bit more. And something interesting that I saw, that there are some lorries they use for public transport. Also something called BC taxi. It's like kind of a rickshaw in India. And these horse carts, especially where I was, which is in Camagüey, this province called Camagüey, they're using a lot of horse carts for public transport. Talking about Cuba, you can't forget about their history. Actually, when you talk about history of humanity, Cuba has a lot of facts there. Like places like Old Havana, which is their capital, and Camagüey, where my university was, they have a lot of monuments and places valuable in history. And of course, I must say, they have the first train track in Iberoamerica. And also, they have the biggest fortress in Latin America, which Spanish people built. In Havana, it is called San Cristobal de la Cabaña. If you visit Havana, you should visit there, of course. So, talking about tourism, let me tell you a little bit about beaches in Cuba, in this amazing land. I told you at the beginning of this video that this is an island, but unfortunately they don't have a lot of beaches. Places like Varadero, Cayo Coco, they have really nice white sand beaches. But let me tell you, my university was beside the ocean, but no, it didn't have any beach. It was just pebbles. So last but not least, I'm gonna talk about their currency. Few years ago, when I was in Cuba, they were using two kind of currency. One was called CUC and the other one was CUP. CUC is kind of equal, like $1. One CUC is like $1, and CUP, which was the like common people would use in general, like 24 CUP will be like 1 CUC. But recently they took CUC out from the system, and now they introduced this currency called MLC, which is a digital kind of virtual kind of money that you have to pay by a card, a credit card or a debit card, when you go to buy something in a supermarket. These are the basic facts about Cuba that you should know as a tourist or somebody interested about Cuba. Of course, you should visit one day. As a tourist, it's a lovely place. If you have any other doubt or anything, any interesting fact that you would like to know, please comment in the comment box. Bye!